Hello and welcome back to the Jeevers Golf Channel. My name is Hans Jeevers. I'm a PGA Tour fantasy contributor for ProGolfNow.com and Fansided.com. And this week we're going to talk about the Rocket Mortgage Classic from Detroit, Michigan. So the Rocket Mortgage Classic began last year on the PGA Tour. It was his first time played on the PGA Tour. It was also played at the Detroit Golf Club. So the Detroit Golf Club is a rather easy golf course for these professionals. That can be illustrated in the final score from last year. Nate Lashley won the inaugural Rocket Mortgage Classic with a score of -25. That is extremely low, even from PGA Tour standards. So why do these PGA Tour players rack up such low scores? Well, it's because the Donald Ross design there, the Detroit Golf Club, is rather easy resort style golf course. Has 4 par 5s that are gettable by PGA Tour professionals. I expect to see a lot of birdies and eagles. Last week's tournament at the Travelers, I would consider that a rather easy golf course. Well, this one is even easier. An example of that would be if you look at the 300-yard mark at the fairways. If you look at the distance and width, this week at the Detroit Golf Club, 35 yards rather in width at the 300-yard mark is rather wide for these guys. Last week it was 29 yards. So 35 yards in fairway width is rather friendly for these PGA Tour players. So driving accuracy shouldn't be a big issue, and the rough is not that difficult. There's only water in play on one hole on this golf course, so not a lot of hazards out there. Hence the reason the final score last year was -25 after 4 days of golf. So this week will be the 4th tournament back since the PGA Tour started play back up after the COVID-19 stoppage of play after the first round of the Players' Championship a few months back. The last 3 tournaments have had pretty deep, talented fields. Rory McIlroy played, I believe, in all of them. An example, he's the #1 player in the world. Brooks Koepka played in multiple events before his having to withdraw last week due to the COVID-19, him becoming positive for that. He had to withdraw. Actually, I should strike that. Brooks was not positive. His caddy was, so he withdrew in the abundance of caution. But regardless, this week's field, the 4th tournament since the COVID-19 stoppage of play, this field is much weaker in overall talent than the last 3. So in my opinion, from watching golf for years, in these type of events where the talent level there's a huge gap in talent level, as there is this week, usually the cream rises to the top. So Bryson DeChambeau will lead my picks. He is the young American that has been known as the scientist for his overall analytics to playing golf, and every golf club in his bag is the same length and shaft. And now he's known for his strength and brawn for putting on 40 pounds during the stoppage and play, and now he's hitting the ball farther than he's ever hit it. I believe he's 2nd on the PGA Tour in driving distance, hitting it about 320 yards on average. So he's coming around as a well-rounded player. I think he's extremely hungry. He certainly checks the box for me in key categories. He's currently 2nd on the PGA Tour in strokes gained off the tee. He is 23rd in overall strokes gained putting, and he is 6th on the PGA Tour in strokes gained tee to green. He's just an overall well-rounded golfer, and he even posted something on Twitter today that he's really happy the way he's been playing, but he wants the dub this week. So he sees a watered down field, and he's somebody that can come through with victory. Just to give you a little bit more understanding how good this guy has been, he comes into this event with 3 straight top 8 finishes, including a 3rd place finish at the Charles Schwab Challenge 3 weeks ago. He just finished 6th at the Travelers last week. In last week's field, he was at the top of all the statistical categories for the 4 days. He's just hitting the ball great. All he needs to do is hit a few more putts and he can win this tournament. So you'll have some people in the DFS community that'll get on social media this week and talk about how fading Mr. DeChambeau is a good idea and that everybody's going to be on him. You should get some leverage and go away from Bryson, Well, that's great. It sounds good. Rhetoric. That's nice. The problem is he's highly likely not to only make the cut, but finish in the top 10, possibly top 5. So you fade him, you're not going to win anything. So I'm not going to get any Twitter battles with anybody, but I'm not fading DeChambeau. If you have 150 lineups in a guaranteed prize pool contest, I'm certainly not playing him in every lineup, obviously. I'm going to have some variation to my lineups. However, he'll be a core play for sure, Bryson DeChambeau. He leads my picks. I am, as I mentioned, a contributor for PGA Tour Fantasy Golf. Tomorrow I'll have an article that will go onto fansided.com, which will have Mr. DeChambeau as my lead pick for FanDuel. Now today, I did an article that was published on ProGolfNow.com from a DraftKings perspective, this particular article, and my lead selection from DraftKings was the young Englishman Tyrrell Hatton. He comes in on the DraftKings slate at $10,700. So I think some people may look over him a little bit or automatically go right to Bryson and not really recognize. I'm not going to say he's going to be totally looked over, okay? Maybe I'm just saying a lot of casual golfers will automatically, golf players or on DFS will just automatically go to DeChambeau and go, who is this Hatton guy, Well, he's somebody that needs to be reckoned with. Tyrrell Hatton is the 15th ranked golfer in the official world golf rankings for a reason, okay? He plays on the European Tour and the PGA Tour. He jumps from continent to continent. However, he just recently established residency in the United States, and he lives in Orlando, Florida, keeping his home base there. A lot of these European players will eventually come over here if they think they can really become outstanding players. They want to make their mark and become the best player they can, and the best way to do that is to get on the best tour in the world, and that's the PGA Tour. So Hatton has played 9 tournaments on the PGA and European tours combined since September 2019. 9 tournaments. He has 8 top 18 finishes in those 9 events. Additionally, he captured his first win on the PGA Tour at the Arnold Palmer Invitational in Orlando in March, right before the stoppage of play due to the pandemic. So I watch my share of European Tour golf as well, and I can assure you this young guy is a very good player, okay? Hatton also checks the box for me when it comes to key statistics. He currently ranks 10th in greens and regulation, 1st in strokes gained approach, 2nd in strokes gained putting, 1st in strokes gained tee to green on the PGA Tour. He's a ball striker, and he's somebody that can get the putts in from 10 to 15 feet. Because on a course where 25 under par is going to get you a win, you're going to need to make some putts. So let's not forget that golf also requires putting, and you're going to need to putt. And Mr. Hatton should be able to do that. So I like Tyrrell Hatton. Another guy I like is Doc Redman. He comes in on the slate at $8,500 on DraftKings. 22-year-old American. He played last year's first inaugural Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit, and he played quite well. He finished 2nd, as a matter of fact, highest finish on the PGA Tour. He comes into this tournament this year in 2020 on the heels of 2 consecutive top 21 finishes on the PGA Tour. He also checks boxes for me when it comes to key statistics. He's currently 25th in strokes gained off the tee and 4th in total birdies on the PGA Tour with 251 total birdies. As I mentioned earlier, you're going to have to score if you want to win this event. He's 4th on the PGA Tour in birdies. So I like Doc Redman at $8,500. As far as some lower tier guys, Brian Stewart is always a guy that I like to look at in these type of events and resort style scoring and watered down fields. Last week, Stewart did finish 20th at the Travelers. He's a journeyman type player, but he tends to realize the tournaments that he needs to play well to get a paycheck, because he knows he's going to miss a lot of cuts because certain golf courses just are not going to be beneficial to his game. He just can't. He can't drive the ball 320 yards off the tee. So he's a very short hitter. He's very accurate, but he can get it up and down pretty well. So Brian Stewart at $7,400 is a guy I like as well on DraftKings. Mark Hubbard at $7,200 is a guy I like. He has 2 top 11 finishes in his last 6 PGA Tour events. He played well last week, relatively well. He fell off a little bit towards the end. I believe he ended up in the top 37, I believe. But this field is going to be much weaker than last week. So he finished 11th at the Honda Classic in March, and that's the Honda Classic is a tournament that always has a star-studded field. This field is going to be much weaker. Hubbard has every chance to maybe sneak in a top 10, top 15 this weekend. At $7,200, you can't ask for much more than that. So I'm going to put a link in the description of this video, and all you have to do is click on the link to go to my article that was published today on ProGolfNow.com, and that is, of course, from a DraftKings perspective. The one dropping tomorrow will be from a FanDuel perspective. If you'd like to see, I have many more picks than the ones I just mentioned in this video and those articles. I'm also looking at possibly writing a piece on first round showdown slates for this week. I'm probably going to do that as well. You can find me on Twitter at JeeversGolf, and I always put my articles out there as soon as they come up. So if you follow me on Twitter, you can easily see my content when it comes out. I've mentioned this before in videos, but maybe not enough. All of my content is free. It is not behind a paywall. It is absolutely free. No $10 a month to see my content. It's free. I've certainly had my fair share of luck in contests, and I think that some of my feedback can definitely help you as well in your journey to winning FanDuel and DraftKings contests in golf. So if you don't mind hitting that like button, I'd really appreciate it. Subscribe, that'd be even better. Good luck and enjoy the Rocket Mortgage Classic from Detroit. Take care, and we'll see you next week.